Rest of the talk. Good afternoon. I call the Johnston County Board of Education meeting for April the 10th, 2018 to order. Welcome to your Board of Education meeting. This is your meeting. Glad you're here to join us today. I do recognize the board is having a quorum. I have 5 members here today. Mr. Hall and Mr. Johnston will not be here today, but we still have 5 members, so it's a quorum. And there's no better way to start out a meeting with the invocation from Dr. Peggy Smith and I pledge allegiance from Todd Sutton. Can we all stand, please?
Let us pray. Merciful and gracious Almighty God, maker and keeper of all things, thank you for this day and all things in it. Thank you for your watch care over us. We are especially thankful for your grace and mercy in keeping this school system safe for teaching and learning. Thank you for each teacher, each administrator, and staff member who serve children. We are thankful for the parents and guardians and community who support and nurture teaching and learning. We are thankful for the Johnston County Commissioners and our state officials who provide teaching and learning resources from the bounty of your provision. Help us, O Lord, to remember that children are our future. Help us to make decisions for the betterment of those children and adults who serve them. Lord, we ask your hand of reconciliation for those who have suffered loss, your hand of healing for those who are sick, and your hand of power to those who face barriers in learning, teaching, and leading. Watch between us and keep us. We count it a privilege to pray in your holy and precious name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no public comments. Next on the agenda is approval of our March the 20th, 2018 regular session minutes. You've had those minutes. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Todd Sutton, second by Teresa Grant. Any questions to the minutes? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Discussion and adjustment to agenda, starting with Mr. Sutton.
None, sir.
Ms. Grant?
None, sir.
Dr. Smith? Superintendent?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 items today. Bond resolution for the school projects listed under consent items 2 and 2018-19 budget consent item 3. I would ask that we move those to the end of our agenda so that we can discuss those with our board attorney in closed session and then come out and do the necessary actions that we would need to after conferring with board attorney.
So we'll move the bond resolution to number 10. Budget for number 11 and adjournment for number 12. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion. Motion by Dr. Smith.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Johnston. Any other questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Comments from board members, starting with Dr. Smith.
Thank you, sir. We will keep our remarks to a brief this month. I would like to start by thanking Rick Stewart for sharing the news that all of us should be getting. I'm going to share just a couple of those. For those of you who don't take the Kinley or Selma or Princeton News Leader, these were the stories on the front page. Dropout rates in Johnston County schools, lowest in 5 years. Selma News. Now, don't take up my 2 minutes. Selma news, this was also on the front page of the Kinley News. Crime rate in Johnston schools, lowest it's been over the past 5 years. Another piece of good news, and I just don't know how many people in the southern end of the county might see that, but I thought it was important that we all share the good news. Also just had the privilege of being a surrogate parent to 2 delightful young ladies at Westview Elementary on their student-led conference day. If you want to see learning at its best, let students tell you what they're doing. They were engaged. They were so smart. And the little girl, the third grader with whom I sat, said, "What are your goals?" And she said, "I want to be number 1 in first and second block." She's on it and really doing great. So great things happening in our schools, and it's just time we told our good story. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Vice Chair Johnston.
1 minute. We just left the student leaders luncheon, and we had a good turnout, and the reports that were given were fantastic. I wish that we could have taped it and what everyone said and how they shared their, that's when you get really true feelings of how students think about you and about the schools. And they had the opportunity to do so today, and it was just wonderful. So I just like to commend them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnston. Teresa Grant.
Well, I had a wonderful opportunity at Cleveland High School for their STEM for Girls Day. As a female STEM professional, they had a group of us come present, and I was the only chemist in the bunch, several architects, but we had, I think, 62 young ladies had signed up for the program, and that was just a great privilege to be there. Attended the Drowsy Chaperone performance at Clayton High School, and man, those kids, they can outperform some of our professional performers out there. They're amazing. Todd and I gave out medals at the Science Olympiad, and all those cheering kids as they got their medals. That's always a lot of fun. And of course, science being what it is for me, I enjoy that day. Hall of Fame banquet, and the ribbon cutting today, as I think Ms. Dorothy said, for the locker rooms, and the lunch with the student leaders. We're in great hands. Our future's in great hands. Just listening to them today, just some amazing students coming out of Johnston County Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Mr. Sutton.
Seems like it's been a short time since we got back together from our board meeting last month, but a lot of things happening. Got the opportunity to go and visit and watch the East Clayton Elementary play. What an awesome talent they have in Clayton. It was a great show. My wife and I enjoyed that. My son and I got to go to the Clayton play, the Drowsy Chaperone, and like Miss Teresa said, it was phenomenal talent. It felt like you were on a Broadway play. It's sitting in an auditorium in New York. Just great talent. I commend Mr. Jones and his staff and all the ones that helped put that play on year in, year out. Science Olympiad was awesome, just seeing all the students get excited over science and winning a prize, whether it was first or fourth place. They didn't care. Today with the lunch with the student leaders, again, phenomenal. We are in great hands in Johnston County, and I think that goes back to our teachers and staff in each one of our schools to make sure that these students are prepared when they graduate from high school. The word of the day was passion, and the portrait for a graduate and passion came up many times throughout the student leaders. Also want to point out something. Friday, April 13th is National Donate for Life Day. Pretty near and dear to my heart. It will actually be 2 years on April 12th that I had the opportunity to donate a kidney to a friend of mine in church. And my daughter is taking this platform from a pageant she won, and I got an email yesterday that I just want to share. A shout out to a teacher at Riverwood Elementary, Stacy Sharon. She helped raise $1,000 for a Donate for Life team that was in Johnston County that they just had a run walk a couple of weeks ago out at Portofino. So wanted to thank her for her just stepping out of the box and doing this above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. I would like to commend the board members for networking out in the local schools and the communities. There's a lot going on in a county school system the size of ours. We are having growing pains, which we're blessed to live in Johnston County in a location where everybody else wants to live, and that's a good problem to have to tackle. Was able to go to my alma mater, Smithfield Selma Senior High School, this morning and dedicating a building and ribbon cutting for the new locker room, bathroom facilities that was made available by a joint effort of the Board of Education and the county commissioners. You know, we did a $100 million school assessment of bringing our older schools up with our newer schools. And the way we classify it is the haves and have-nots. If you go to West Johnston and Cleveland and Corinth High Schools, you see a really nice facilities, and then you go to Clayton, Smithfield Selma, which are very nice facilities to be built in 1969. And we take care of our school system. It really looks good. Smithfield Selma, if you go by there, you'll see a new roof being constructed on top of the building, going from the flat roof to a roof with a pitch on it, so we don't have leaks in our schools. But I wanted to personally thank the county commissioners for funding us the first $30 million of the $100 million to be able to bring our schools, our older schools, in line with our newer schools. And we still got a lot of work to do, but it's the first step of great things happening. This is stage one, and many stages to go. So I appreciate the great relationship we do have with our commissioners. And on that, we do have a candidate running for county commissioner, Patrick Harris. If you'd stick up your hand, Patrick. I appreciate you coming today. And we recognized Mr. Jimmy Clapp and Tracy Zukowski last meeting. I don't think Jason was here, so I wanted to mention Jason's name for running for Board of Education, and also the three incumbents, which is Todd Sutton, Vice Chair Dorothy Johnston, and Butler Hall also running. So appreciate their commitment in public service to Johnston County and those running that are willing to serve this community. But thank you for being here today. And with that, we'll go.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a student leader?
Oh, no, I'm a student teacher.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I thought she was Miss Godwin. I apologize.
There's your special recognition right there. Thanks for being here. Advisory appointment for East Clayton Elementary, Teresa Grant.
Principal Jamie Tyler recommends new member appointment of 3 years for David Lomax to be filling a vacant seat, term to end June 2020.
You heard Ms. Grant. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Todd Sutton. Second by Dr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Renfro.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Before we handle business, I would like to recognize some of our student leaders that are with us today. From Smithfield Selma, we have Olivia Ashley. Olivia, thank you for being here with us. And from Corinth Holders, Loris Tellefson and Hannah Hill. So glad to have you all with us today. It is greatly appreciated. Now, I know somebody had issues with an AP class, so at any point in time that y'all need to get up and excuse yourselves to go prepare for school tomorrow, we completely understand. If you want to stay the whole time, feel free to stay, but we know that you have other commitments as well. But we're just honored that you are all here today. With that said, Mr. Chairman, at this time I ask that our board approve consent items 6A1A through 6A1K.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Smith, second by Teresa Grant. Any questions about the consent items? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Renfro.
Dr. Price.
Good afternoon, Mr. Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Board of Education members, Mr. Jim Lawrence. Today I have 4 items to present, 3 action, and 1 is for information only. Exhibit item 6B1 is an addendum to the JCC-JCPS Articulation Agreement. It's an action item. JCC received notification of approval by the North Carolina Community College System to offer the Associate in Engineering as part of its Pathways for Johnston County Early College Academy. This notification was received after the original articulation agreement that was sent to the Board of Education for approval in February of 2018. Clarification on which students will be charged CAPS fees and how these are paid is also included in this addendum. Student groups that will be charged the CAPS fee include the following: Early College Academy, CTLA, CCP Online, CCP students that take classes on the JCC campus. So at this time, I would like to invite Stephanie Leonard, Executive Director of Advanced Learning, to present a few slides detailing this addendum for you.
Stephanie, come on up. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'm going to just give you a few details about the addendum to the articulation agreement. A couple of things have come up since the signing of the original articulation agreement between Johnston County Public Schools and Johnston Community College. The first of those being the CAPS fee. The CAPS fee stands for Campus Access, Parking, and Security, and this is a new fee that JCC will begin charging students this fall. So the CAPS fees will be charged to CCP students, early college students, and CTLA students beginning in the fall. And the only students that are not charged the CAPS fee are the students that take CCP classes only at their high school campus. So they will not be charged. The charge is $4 per credit hour, and your actual addendum has a chart that details that. And the students are able to pay those fees directly at the cashier's office at JCC, or they can go onto their web advisor account and pay those fees online. And fees are due on the last day to pay, and that's published each year in the academic calendar for Johnston Community College. The second thing that the addendum addresses is that Johnston Community College was received notification that they can now offer the Associates of Engineering degree to students at Early College Academy. So beginning in the fall of 2018, students at Early College have 3 degree options: Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, and Associate of Engineering. So we're very excited about that. You have any questions for me?
Any questions from the board members?
I have just one. What is the average credit hours that a student might be taking, 12, 15?
Our CCP students from our traditional high schools take about 6 credit hours per semester.
So $25 or less.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
What happens to the students that don't pay the CAP fee at the end of the deadline period? Do they hold their grades, or what happens at that point, or do you know?
If students do not pay, they will be dropped from classes. However, we have a system in place where if students are not able to pay those fees, we have a form that's a waiver for those students that they can turn in to us.
Thank you.
So that would include the students that may be on free and reduced lunch, as we've talked about before. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
This is an action item. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Teresa Grant, second by Dr. Smith. If no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Exhibit item 6B2 is an addendum to 3 exceptional children's service provider contracts. It's an action item. The contracts for various services provided for special needs children were approved at the beginning of this school year, 2017-2018. The original amounts approved are insufficient to meet the needs of students for the remainder of the school year. We need to increase contracted amounts as follows. Johnston Psychiatric Associates, 180,000 to 260,000 for therapists at the Therapeutic Learning Center, known as TLC. Maximum Healthcare Services from 125,000 to 185,000 for individual nurses for students, and Clear Message Interpreting Service from 50,000 to 115,000 for sign language interpreters. We're not seeking additional funding. I would like to invite at this time Dr. Paula Coates, Executive Director of Federal Programs, to detail the rationale for these changes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Coates.
Welcome, ma'am. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. You have the PowerPoint so you can read. The reason for the Johnston Psychiatrics Association addendum is last year we had therapeutic learning centers at 2 sites, middle and high was combined. So we began the year thinking that we could use the same therapist, but we soon learned that we would need a therapist on each site. They need to be there all day, every day. So that's the reason for that increase. These therapists are licensed clinicians and they're paid hourly wages. So is there a question about that particular?
So they're not school employees, they're contracted employees?
Contracted employees, yes, ma'am. And then with Maximum Healthcare, we have healthcare services with several vendors, but this particular vendor, we have 4 students with very intense medical needs. And we are able to apply for funding to reimburse some of that to us, and we've received it. But after 5 years, the state does not provide that funding if a student has received it for 5 years. That's called risk pool funding. So we need to extend this contract to cover the needs to those students. And these are students with tracheotomies, G-tubes, feeding tubes, those types of things. Any questions about that one?
Do you have the grade levels?
I could find it. I don't have it here.
Thank you.
I don't. And I'll be glad to get that to you if you'd like to have it.
It's
Okay.
just good to know how long the services will fall to us.
This particular amount of funding, this type of funding is called risk pool, and we can apply and we can receive it for 5 years, but once the 5-year period is out, we can't get that particular funding anymore.
But students are in school for 13 years. Wouldn't you think that people who make those laws would know that?
I would hope.
You would hope,
certainly help
yeah.
our situation. Yes, it would.
Is that funding not it's based on percentage of students? It's based on a percentage that the state calculates, right? It's not based on the actual percentage of students we have, is that correct?
75 cap and for EC students by the state, and we are at 16.23%, so there's nearly 4% unfunded. 4% of 36,000 kids would be unfunded.
And that as a dollar amount of,
Approximately $7 million.
A lot.
thank you, Dr. Price.
And then for clear message interpreting, we had all 4 students move into, 3 students move into the district this year because we always anticipate the need for 1, but we had 3. And so that's the reason for the increase there. And this is to provide sign language interpreters. And on rare occasion, that service is also used if we have a hearing impaired parent who needs it at an IEP meeting, but it's primarily for students. Are there any questions about that? Any other questions in general about anything?
Any
Now,
questions?
the good news for this is that for some of our contracts, we are nowhere near the amount that we approved, so we don't anticipate an overall budget expenditure at the end of the year of what was already approved. It's just for these specific contracts. Okay. No, thank you.
This is also an action item. Entertain a motion. Motion by Teresa Grant, second by Todd Sutton. Any other questions before we vote? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I would like to say, Dr. Smith, you were anticipating 13 years, but for the EC students through age 21, so it could be 16 years actually. So it is an expense that we incur. Exhibit item 6B3 is a presentation detailing the chronological events of the Middle College CTLA merger. It's an action item that meets the requirements for general statute. The presentation summarizes how Johnston County Public Schools has satisfied the conditions of 115C-72 in the merger of CTLA and the Middle College Academy beginning next school year. As a reminder, these regulations were met and a preliminary vote was taken at the beginning of this school year to move forward with this merger. I'd like to invite Brendan Garland, Innovation Officer, to present the steps taken, the ones that we've already taken to make this merger and transition happen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Garland.
Good afternoon. As Dr. Price was just saying, we're going to walk you through the General Statutes 115C-72. As we walk through these, you do have the power, obviously, to merge a school as we follow these procedures. I would like to point out, though, that these procedures were written with traditional schools in mind. We're talking about non-traditional schools, so we've had to do some interpreting in a very innovative way of how these procedures and policies affect innovative schools. The first one is have in mind the welfare of students affected. Middle college students here we don't believe are quote-unquote affected in that they are finishing their programs of study as middle college students. And as students come into CTLA Academy, they are continuing their academic opportunities. And we are still offering those same academic opportunities to students, the same geographic area, because it's a full county school serving our whole school body. So there's no geographical change, and the academic opportunities are actually expanding, offering more seats, more options. Next are geographic conditions, and this generally speaks to when you're merging schools that are combining different types of zoning. In this case, both these sites serve all students in Johnston County schools. Any student can apply to go to these schools. So our geographic regions are not changing by merging these schools. Increase or decrease in enrollment. Currently, middle college every year serves about 125 students. When CTLA is fully enrolled over the next few years, it will serve 425 students. That's its cap in our agreement. So we actually will have an increase in enrollment by combining those two schools, not a decrease, because we're not changing the students that we serve in the area that we serve. So once again, we're interpreting these a little more differently than a traditional school merger. Hardship on pupils. What this is speaking to, are we making kids go further? Are we making kids have different hours? CTLA and middle college, we're actually decreasing the hardship with this merger. Middle college, when it was open, was before the Innovative Schools programs. And the only way we could open middle college, and I see Dr. Peggy Smith nodding her head, she probably remembers this, was those students had to provide their own transportation. Since then, we've had the Innovative Schools programs that allow us to provide transportation. So if we don't merge these schools, middle college students can't ride a bus, which limits their opportunities. By merging it under the CTLA banner, we're able to provide opportunities of riding buses to all students, which is actually opening up opportunities. So as opposed to having a hardship on pupils, we're actually removing a hardship to our community. Cost. Cost is a little interesting. Middle college was not part of the Innovative Schools program, so there's no additional funding coming from being a middle college. As an innovative school currently in the state budget, there are some additional funds that are provided. So CTLA and some of their teachers and principal positions are funded a little differently. By combining them, we're not going to have to hire additional teachers teaching the same subjects at two schools using the same teachers. We'll see some cost reduction there. And maybe not reduction in what we're spending now, but if we did not combine the schools and we had to continue to staff them both and grow CTLA. So I don't know that we'll be spending less than we're spending today, but you'll be spending less than you'd be spending in a few years. And finally, there has to be a public hearing, which was conducted by Dr. Price and some members of the community college last year, where parents were able to voice their opinions. And some of that went very well, and some of them had some very clear questions. A lot of parents walked in thinking we were closing middle college and that students will not be allowed to go there anymore. That was not the case. We're simply merging the educational opportunity. Students who are currently enrolled at said middle college are finishing with middle college diplomas. So we have had the public hearing. And with that, it is our interpretation, Active Innovation, that you have met the requirements posed by the State Board of Education. Any questions?
Any questions? This is an action item. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Smith, second by Todd Sutton. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Price.
Exhibit item 6B4 is a presentation outlining the restart changes at Selma Middle School and West Smithfield Elementary, the year one outcomes, and the metrics that will be used to measure the success of these changes. This is an information item. As a reminder, the Board of Ed approved through a vote the 4 restart schools and their plans several months ago. This item is merely to keep you informed on the metrics and the timelines of the school's change process. Both West Smithfield Elementary and Selma Middle School will be entering restart next year. Through a year-long review and appraisal process, both school leadership teams have identified that the culture of the school must change for the benefit to benefit the students and the teachers. This presentation defines, as I stated, how the school's culture will be changed, the year one outcomes, and the measurements that will be used to evaluate this implementation. The other 2 schools will be presented at the next board meeting. We did not feel that we should present all at one time so that you could process the information. These schools were previously approved, as I stated earlier, as restart schools. Their specific plans were previously approved, as I stated earlier. I would like to remind everyone of the January Board of Education meeting where our accountability department discussed the fact that we wish to first address culture and climate in years 1 and 2 with all of the innovations that we're doing, not just in the restart schools. And we also should remind ourselves of the well-researched implementation dip that occurs when innovation or new ideas come to use. Michael Fullen says that the dip is literally a dip in performance and confidence as one encounters an innovation that requires new skills and new understanding. At this time, I'd like to invite Brandon Garland, once again, Innovation Officer, to introduce the purpose of the next several speakers.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry you have to hear from me again. I'll get out of their way. So what we were asked to do at Academic Innovation is help the principals find a vehicle for change in these schools. We've acknowledged and you've acknowledged that these schools have to have a change. They have to have an opportunity. So at Academic Innovation, we have worked and we've helped them identify through situation appraisal where they need to go. And what we brought for you today is Kathy Price to explain that vehicle we're going to use for change and how we're going to support that. And then our 2 principals are going to speak with some of their delegation on how they will bring about that change in year 1. Obviously, like Dr. Price said, we'll have 2 other schools presenting to you next week, which will be next meeting, that will be a little different and unique. But with that all being said, I would like to bring Kathy Price up as our Executive Director of Educator Effectiveness to introduce Capturing Kids' Hearts.
Welcome, Ms. Price.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garland. I am excited about being here in front of you to talk to you about capturing kids' hearts in this vehicle of change. And I do want to start our time together with a couple of words. You know, we know teachers must raise the bar on student performance, all the while competing against social, environmental, and outside pressures as never before. And this is so true. It's very real. It's very difficult. And so when we look at our restart schools and our schools in turnaround situations, we know that our leadership is facing this. They might be facing teacher burnout. They might be facing teacher turnover, high discipline referrals, high students at risk. And we owe it to our teachers and really our students to do better, to really empower our teachers. And that's the framework of capturing kids' hearts. So we know that the teacher is the single most important influencer in the entire school. And that's what this framework does. It's not a program, it's simply a framework for how we should approach instruction. So Flip Flippin, that's a fun name, he is the founder and chairman of Capturing Kids' Hearts, the Flippin Group really, and he says if you have a child's heart, you have a child's mind. But he actually goes a little bit further, and he says if you don't have a child's heart, you have no business messing with his mind. I would agree with that, and I think you would too. So as we launched JOCO 2020 in 2015, the kind of birth of it and some planning years and the official launch last year, we've had some intense conversation around instruction in our district. I mean, it has been laser-like focus. In fact, we have 20 teacher leaders that have come and self-selected themselves as, I want to be a future leader in our district. And so we formed this cohort group, and they're called the Education Leadership Practicum. And we meet twice a month in the evenings just to talk about what leadership looks and feels like in our district. And they have even said, our conversations this year at our school feels different. It's more intense. It's more focused. It's deeper. And interestingly enough, what we have found through these conversations is that we've turned over this stone that we weren't anticipate turning over. And we're realizing there's something missing in the beginning. There's something missing before the content. And a few people may have recognized it early on, but now that we're really talking about moving instruction, and I don't want to say we've never talked about instruction before. That's not the message I'm sending. I'm sending now is just super deep and intense, and we're realizing there is a little bit missing. And capturing kids' hearts can help us with that missing link. So there are several goals that Capturing Kids' Hearts puts forward. The first two that we're going to talk about is self-management of classrooms, decreasing disruptive outbursts and delinquent behaviors. Think about the fact that students' anxiety doesn't need to be true to be real. We know that. And in fact, social anxiety theory might even tell us that behind the most inappropriate behavior is fear. Now, our conversation today is not around why that fear exists and how it manifests itself, but that is very true and it's very evident, especially in our turnaround situations. Teachers need tools to help move students from fear to high academic performance. So let me ask you this, what motivates you more? Is it the promise of gain or is it the fear of loss? That's a hard rhetorical question. What motivates you more, the promise of gain or the fear of loss? And I feel like most people might say it's the fear of loss that might motivate us more, and our students are no different. So when fear goes up in the classroom, we know this to be true, that performance goes down. So that tool that we would like to help propel us and launch us to these turnaround situations is Capturing Kids' Hearts, and the backbone of that framework is called the Excel model. And I want to walk you through what this is. It reinforces that role of emotional intelligence in teaching. That is the piece through our initial conversations over the past 2 years around instruction. We're finding that is the piece that we're kind of missing. With the standards movement and the movement around assessment, we're finding that we're jumping straight into content, and we're kind of missing the whole child. And so Flippin and his colleagues say, all right, teachers, we have to stop doing that. We have to address the whole child. So I really quickly want to go over the acronym with you. So the E is for engage. Capturing Kids' Hearts says simply, before you even talk about what it is you want to teach the students, engage with them. Handshake and affirmation. What are you modeling and how are you modeling that communication? Any research that we read might say that 50 to 60% of our communication is body language and 30 to 40% of that communication is tone of voice. So when students enter our classrooms, all of our classrooms, how are we engaging them? And what the Flippin group does is works with teachers on that initial contact. Immediately, how are you perceived by your students? The X is for explore. They took a little creative liberty here with the spelling. But this is about exploring the needs of our students and the listening skills needed to create a safe environment, seeing that whole child, celebrating good things. All of us in here are leaders, and we've all heard celebrate your people, celebrate your teams, and celebrate often. Why is it, I wonder, that in our classroom environment, again, we jump straight into content? Why aren't we celebrating these good things with our students? So Capturing Kids' Heart says you don't have to celebrate every single student every single day, but do begin your class period with these good things. And what that does, it shows interest in our students. It sets the positive tone for class, and it also teaches the leadership skill of positive thinking and positive social interactions. And I don't know about you, but I would see a lot more leadership around positive social interactions in our world today. The C is for communicate. This is what K-12 hangs its hat on. This is what we're good at. This is our age-old struggle, right? So it's taking our content and saying, how do we connect this to our students' future lives? We'll continue that struggle. Here's where we need to pause. Capturing Kids' Hearts in this framework asks us to stop. Before we communicate, they say, get the E and the X before the C. How are you engaging your students, heart, mind, body, and soul? How are you engaging them and preparing them to learn so that they're open to the learning from you? as the instructor.
Not the key word, relationships.
Exactly. And so as we think about, the tenets of innovation and relationships and relevance, we keep asking ourselves, so what does that look and feel like? What are the behaviors that we want to see from our teachers and from our students? And this gives us tangible behaviors that we'll move into in just a moment. The empowerment, use, do, develop, become, innovate. And then finally, the last bit of this framework is the launch. This is the commitment to action. A launch might be something like live on purpose with a purpose. You might liken it to a lesson closure, but it's more than that. It's like a launch to a new beginnings. If I heard live on purpose with a purpose several times when I was in high school, that might have changed a little bit of my attitude. Or imagine this. Imagine someone who has served in the military and he is now serving as an educator, or she, and over the door of the classroom that you have the words return with honor. And so every time those students leave, they hear their teachers say and they see those words return with honor. That is a launch. Go forth, do, innovate, come back to us as a team. Let's talk about it. Let's celebrate what you've done since we've last been together. I love the positivity that Capturing Kids' Hearts brings. So the next set of goals is rapport and teamwork, and what better way to do this than that positivity I just talked about. And what you see up here are positive words, and we're not just talking about a word wall here. We're talking about students who use positive put-ups as opposed to put-downs frequently and daily. That culture changes when the students own it. And what this framework does is it teaches our teachers how to have students own that positivity. I'm going to put a pin in this real quick. We'll come back to it. And then lastly, the empathy for diverse cultures and backgrounds and increasing motivation so that students take responsibility. What you see here is called a social contract, and this is the piece of an extensive process. It looks maybe at first glance like norms or a code of cooperation, but it is much more than that. You see that every student has signed his or her name beside it, and if we don't follow that, if students don't say, okay, I'm going to wait my turn, or if a student says, I'm not going to use my soft voice, there's no accountability there. What we have here is a poster of nice to knows. And what Capturing Kids' Hearts does, it puts some cadence of accountability into this so that when a student says someone who is violating that social contract, it might be a body language, just thumb sideways, nothing big, just walking by their classmate so that that classmate knows, okay, I need to check my behavior, what's going on, how am I violating the social contract? Or if it's something more significant, you might get a foul. So if I foul Dr. Renfro and Dr. Smith calls me on it, I have to give him 2 put-ups. Now think about that and how we respond, when we're called to the carpet. So I just have to say, Dr. Renfro, your tie looks great and your hair is amazing today.
God bless you.
It's much deeper than this, but that's the basic gist of it. It's not just a set of norms. It really is that cadence of accountability that creates the self-managing groups that students own. That students own, not the teacher. It's the students who are controlling and managing themselves. And we could bury you in research. There is so much research out there that talks about how this preempts the content. Get students ready to receive the learning from you first. And this one particular piece here says that schools implementing Capturing Kids' Hearts enjoyed a 41% increase in pro-social skills, social-emotional, and 33% fewer discipline referrals than those control schools. And we have some links here for a deeper dive for you at your own time, but we can give you a plethora of research that shows this framework, as simplistic as it seems, is extremely powerful. We've seen it in neighboring school districts. We've talked to other schools who are implementing it in other areas. It is really powerful stuff. So here's our implementation plan. This fall, August 13th and 14th, 4 of our Restart schools will embark on this journey. And it will be 2 consecutive day of training where our flipping group colleagues come in and they show teachers how to build this culture. There's so much online for the principals, for implementation ideas, for the teachers, for lesson planning, for chunks of learning, and how to really get into that explore model we talked about earlier with that acronym. There's a strategic planning and ongoing coaching for our principals. There's a booster session late winter or early spring where we take those teacher leaders, we bring them together for a strategy session, and we really look at, all right, how is it working? What did we want to do? Where did we go? Where are we? How do we move forward this spring so that we can continue to implement how do we capture kids' hearts? How do we do that? What does that look and feel like? And then where we are now, all our Capturing Kids' Hearts principals have participated in what's called Leadership Blueprint. This is the executive side of the training. So if Capturing Kids' Hearts is for teachers, Leadership Blueprint is for our administrators. And if you have not spoken to anyone on our senior staff, our principals or our assistant principals who went through this last summer, I encourage you to do so. It is very powerful. It has really changed. Don't you think Dr. Renfro changed professional ideas around the leadership with those traction steps? Our principals know exactly what teachers will receive, and they have committed to inspect what is expected. This is not a one and done. It's ongoing. It's sustained with coaching built in, and they know that they must model and look for these practices and model them as well. And then finally, the cost. There is no ask today with our federal block grant of Title II money supporting effective instruction. All 4 schools, it's $117,000. We've already budgeted that in, and we're just very excited about sharing this journey with you. I'm stoked. I'm glad the principal is here to talk about it. I could go on for a long time, but we don't have that time available to us. And I want to turn it over to Ms. Bright.
As we segue to the next speaker, Ms. Price and I had an opportunity to go down to Wilmington for a Capturing Kids' Hearts scenario, and there was a team of us, and it was so impressive that I asked Ms. Price to reach out to the folks with the flipping group to say, what would it cost to do Capturing Kids' Hearts for every school in the district? And it is the epitome of JOCO 2020 as you look at relationships. Of course, it's a little pricey, and but this is at least a small first step in that direction. So
it is, and we hope to have sustainability with this. So we have 4 schools going next year, and we hope to have 4 more and build sustainability in that way as well.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Just sitting here while you've been presenting today and reading this in our board agenda, I'm excited because it affects me in 2 ways. One, my wife's a teacher at North Johnston Middle School. And secondly, and more importantly, my daughter's a 7th grader at North Johnston Middle School. And just sitting here recollecting the talks that they have on the way home and at night of kids that my daughter is talking about in the 7th grade and she comes across every day. And they may not live in the same type of household that we have. They may not get that nourishment and that encouragement that every student should get. I understand full-heartedly what it is to be growing up in a single-parent home. And it's unfortunate. But this right here, to me, is just awesome. It's going to give us those relationships that those students need so much that they don't get at home. Their parents may be working 2 and 3 jobs to put food on their table while they eat, and they eat a sandwich with nothing but mayonnaise or whatever it may be. But I can speak from experience. So I just thank each and every one that's had a part in this, because if it saves one student, we've done a great job. But I truly believe that it's going to take care and capture a lot of kids' hearts throughout these 4 schools and then let it just trickle down to the rest of the schools. So I commend you all. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
You and a couple of principals and I went to training with the school boards about this same philosophy, not this system, but the philosophy. I was wondering if there was something that you all could recommend for policy that we could consider. Ms. Vice Chair Johnston chairs that committee. If you think of something that we can do as a policy committee, we had talked a little bit about it at the meeting when we were in training, but something that would enable this to go forward in I hate to say it, but in an administrative way that it's not an option, if that makes sense.
Have been talking, that body of work is huge. When you're talking about restorative discipline and how that changes the code of conduct. And I've been in communication with Mr. Lawrence. We've talked about that. So this will be something that throughout the spring into the summer before we see any changes to policy, because it is a different way of thinking.
This thing. Your source of information. Where do you have your source? that you use to get this?
In the flipping group, yes, from the flipping group, and I can shoot that to you.
I would like for you to give that to me. I like to read it for myself.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Lady Vice Chair, I was so impressed with it. I went out and bought his book and have read his book about 3 times. I'll be glad to share that with you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Price.
At this time, we'll bring up Sharon Bryant, principal of West Smithfield Elementary School.
Good
Welcome, Ms.
afternoon. I want to introduce my team with me today. This young man here has captured my heart. He and I got to know each other very well, I think, on the second day of school. And since that time, we have become the best, the very best of buds, I would say. Right, Max? This is Max. He's a 4th grader at West Smithfield Elementary. He is a great young man. And thank you. And this is Miss Emily Rose, a 4th grade teacher who is also a SIT member at West Smithfield Elementary School. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of segue right into, give us 1 second. Oh, there we go. And our focus, it says, true change requires a focus on creating a school culture that promotes academic, social, emotional, and character development in children. Maurice Elias. So this just kind of brings us right into what Ms. Price was just speaking of. And if I had to rewrite that quote, I think it's absolutely worded perfectly. I would actually put the character development and social emotional before the academics. Because if we do not build these relationships with our students, none of the rest is going to happen. West Smithfield vision. West Smithfield Elementary will empower our students to enrich their world by facilitating learning through relationships and relevant, innovative experiences. West Smithfield Elementary will engage each student in relevant and personalized learning experiences in preparation for careers, college, and to me, the most important one is life. We can prepare them for careers, we can prepare them for college, but if we don't prepare them for how to get along with each other every day, day to day, then we're not going to have them prepared for careers or colleges if they really don't understand what it means to live amongst each other. Right, Max? Okay. Our year 1, our goal, we're going to focus on doing just that, capturing kids' heart. We're going to focus on the foundation of our culture, teaching not just to the child, but to the whole child, everything that they need. As you know, I spoke earlier as we're not going to be an enhancement calendar next year, and so we had to have our focus for next year. We are going to focus also on AVID. AVID whole school, not just partly. With that, as a whole school, we're going to focus on the organizational piece because we found that if we can get our kids organized, that's a big component of it. I mean, I have 3 grown boys, and if I could get them organized, then I know that their life would be a whole lot better. It's just that luckily now I have students who actually listen because when they get grown, they don't always listen to you when you want them to do things. Writing, we're going to have more of a focus in K2. For the writing component of AVID. We recognize that our K2 kids are not quite ready for some of the level that it's going to take them to when they get to 3.5. And when they get to 3.5, we're going to look at the inquiry base. We also are focusing next year, we've started some this year, on our literacy framework. The district is doing a great job as well, working on a literacy framework for the district, and we've been working with Dana Miller's shop at our school to try to help us frame the direction that we're going. So we've kind of started some implementation of some items this year, and we're going to really focus here. The shift is with AVID, there's a bigger focus in 3.5. With the literacy framework, we're going to put a larger amount of time with our K2. And we're not forgetting about 3.5, but we realize that if we can work closely with not only our K2, but our pre-K, because we have a pre-K class, from our pre-K to our 2nd grade, then our goal for our next year when they go to 4th grade would be to add those components. So we're looking at just year 1 for next year with the focus being K2 literacy framework. Our outcomes for year 1 for students. We want a school culture that embraces each student for who they are, an environment that fosters learning, an increase in ability to be self-aware and monitor one's emotions, and an increase in academic skills. And from that point, we're going to be focusing on the AVID, the organization, the inquiry in writing, and we're looking to have an increase. That increase, we're looking at 5% over the next 3 years, but we are looking to have an increase in our reading for next year, as well as in the reading comprehension. And for our teachers, create a work environment that supports learning and increased collaboration, an environment that fosters relationship, and accomplishments in capturing kids' hearts, AVID professional development, curriculum alignment, and of course, increase in student achievement. Our measurements, we are going to increase our student survey that reflects at least, we're looking to do more than 20%, but our goal next year is going to be at least a 20% increase so that we can say every student in our building has made a connection with at least one adult. And we don't just mean they know their name, they know something about. There is one person in our school that student can say they know something about me that's going to help me become a better me. We're going to focus on, of course, the organization piece, the AVID notebook. For some, that may not just be the notebook, but some may use the digital component. And here is our grades 3-5, our increase. This is where I was speaking on over a 3-year period. We are going to be at least 5%, but we do hope to have gains next year as well. But over in 3 years, we're going to have at least a 5% increase. And with our K2, M-class growth by 5% from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And at this time, I have Max, who he's just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we have done this year and some of the things that he enjoy as we're looking at going into next year. Max?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Matt.
Miss Bryant's making a mess. There you go, Max. How is that?
Good afternoon. My name is Max. I am a 4th grade student in West Smithfield Elementary. My favorite program about our school is Lexia, mostly because it is fun and easier to use than iReady. And I like Lexia mostly because there's fun activities, mostly like word searches and fun facts about animals. And my favorite part about school is PE, mostly because Ms. Rushnai, my gym teacher, she gives us fun activities to do, like kickball. And here's my 4th grade math teacher, Ms. Rose.
So now, did he say that math was his favorite subject? Was it PE?
It was PE.
Oh, okay.
He was a little concerned today that he would miss PE coming, but he didn't, so he was okay. So my name is Emily Rose. I'm a 4th grade teacher at West Smithfield. I mainly teach math and science, but I've taught reading in the past. And relationships is very important to me. It's very important to learn how the students learn. We just took learner profile surveys to help with that. Also, we use a lot of resources in our classrooms to guide their learning in our whole group and in our small group, and especially in remediation time. So, thank you.
So I just want to thank Max and Miss Rose for coming out and just being a part of my team today, because as we have said all year since we started this journey, is that it's going to take us all. It's a team effort. It's not Miss Bryant. It's not just the Board of Education. We recognize that our teachers and our students play an integral part in our success. So we thank each of you for your time this afternoon.
No, we thank you. Thanks for your time.
I just want one comment. Your biomes was incredible. I went to your school 3 times that day. I kept seeing new nuances. The work was amazing, and the students came out in the hallway and talked to us. Mr. Hall and I went Mr. Sutton, we were all 3 there at the same time. They could tell us all about their learning, and that's hard. We would just go at random, and they'd say, "Well, you want to come and talk to them?" And they would come out and just glow with how they had learned. So you're doing the right things for children, and we appreciate you all. And thank you, Max, for coming.
Thanks, Max.
Ms. Bryant, thank you for making a difference in students' lives every day. You are appreciated.
Great job, Max.
Dr. Price, you need a stool? Okay, that's better. There you go.
All right. Max, they weren't kidding. I stand on this often. So thank you, West Smithfield. And at this time, I'd like to bring up Selma Middle and let them walk through the process that they're going through as well.
Welcome, Mr. Germanowski. Good to see you today. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. I would like to introduce part of our planning team. The rest had to stay back at the building because we still have school going on right now. So I got Miss Amy Smith over here. She is our sit chair. I got Miss Crystal Trammell, who is our TLC, and Miss Shannon Pavlak, who is one of our assistant principals. We left Mr. Yule and Mr. Srinivasan back at the building to hold down the fort. So we appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. So let's see, got to go back. Yeah. So again, relationships. If we improve the culture of the school, then our community will rise. One of the things, I like listening to people talk because every kid, every adult has a different learning style. And so when I was in the classroom as a band director, I prided myself on coming up with different ways of speaking to people, different ways, different acronyms, different ways to get the point across. So often when I listen to people speak, I get visuals in my head. And when Ms. Price was talking about flipping and the training and getting the E and the X before the C, I thought back to when I was a kid and working with my dad and him teaching me how to operate a lawnmower. And you can apply this knowledge to any small gas engine device. You had to prime the engine before you could operate the machine. And if we don't prime our students for the curriculum, they're never going to get it. So, but our mission and mission is to educate the whole child through building relationships, making connections through innovative learning practices and relevant experiences. We need to build that foundation in culture and relationships and making connections relevant to our students and their learning. Our vision is that Selma Middle School students are the leaders of tomorrow who will engage in careers and experiences that have not yet been created. Again, every child should feel connected. Every child should feel valued. We need to engage them on a daily basis. We need to focus on that culture before we get to the academics. As Flippin said, if you have a child's heart, you have his head. So what does that look like for us? Some of the things that we've talked about, what'll look differently. We have a curriculum committee that we've recently started as the planning process from Restart. We couldn't move forward with that committee until the staffing portion was done and we knew who was going to be back and what direction we were headed. But that curriculum committee is meeting to discuss how thematic learning is going to be implemented and the specifics on what that looks like on a daily basis. So what thematic learning is providing that string, that connection, that when the student enters the building in that morning, they get that overarching theme in all of their classes throughout the day. So when they leave at the end of the day, that information is retained. I don't know about you, but when I was in school, when I studied, we called it cramming. And you would cram all the information into your head the night before or 30 minutes before class, whenever you had the opportunity to do it, so you could spit it all back out on the test and then go, whew. But if our kids come in August and then they've got to perform in May or June, there's no way to cram for that. So we've got to put that latent information, we've got to make those connections. So if you imagine an overarching theme of movement, when the student walks through the door that day, they go to PE, and everything they're doing is related to movement. That's an easy one. Math, related to movement. We can do distance and time and ratios and things like that related to movement. Science. ELA, social studies, migration patterns. So again, that'll all be retained and reimagined for the students at the end of the day. We're going to have 3 curriculum coaches that are going to work with teachers to support engaging and imaginative learning experiences. We have support from our academic innovation team and professional development to support project-based learning. We're going to implement a flex class. We've been back and forth on what this is called. Curriculum enhancement, flex. We're fighting with Power School as to what we can call it and what it really is. What it's going to be is we're going to trick kids into learning. We're going to walk through the door and they're going to think that they're going to have fun. But at the end, when they walk out, they go, I learned something. Okay? That one class is going to support all 4 standards. So they're going to work together with the 4 core classes to support that one. Couple other things that we're looking at doing, what it's going to look like. Fridays, no new instruction. Monday through Thursday, all new instruction. Fridays, no new instruction. Nobody's going to be left behind. Fridays are going to be focused on how do we catch them up, and the ones that are there, how do we push them forward. We're going to have student-based groups on student interest-based groups on Friday. You call them clubs if you want to call them clubs. We're going to ask the kids what we want to call them. We want their input. And then we're going to have time every Friday for that connection where we can follow up with the flipping group, the Capturing Kids' Hearts, where we have small groups of students with one teacher, and they can have that cohort group every Friday to make sure that we're on top of that. So our year 1 goals, with 3 goals. We want to establish a community within the school that values each child's uniqueness and creativity. We need to build a bridge to the community. We want to involve all our stakeholders from our town, and we want to value that relationship between the student and the teacher. Goal number 2, we need to develop a culture of collaboration and respect for all stakeholders. I think if you ask any principal across our district, and we've got great principals across the district, they will tell you that the one-way communication from the building to the parents, the building to the community is fantastic. Where we struggle at is getting that communication to come back in. So we've got to increase that 2-way communication between school and home. We've got to find a way to get that feedback back into us. We've got to increase student and staff motivation and morale. And our 3rd goal is to increase student academic growth. We're going to use those inquiry-based learning strategies to engage student. We're going to increase teacher agency and innovative instruction, like I said, with those courses, that flex class, that thematic learning. So our measurements with Restart, the learning environment at Selma Middle is going to evolve to promote self-efficacy among our students. And to measure progress, classrooms are going to build upon student metacognitions. Students will monitor growth progress on their learning targets through a personal tracking matrix. They're going to be able to reflect upon that thematic learning experience to provide formative feedback and regularly adjust that experience as they need so the teacher can provide that for them. We're going to build upon student self-efficacy. We have a student leadership group currently, and we're building upon that. They're going to progress monitor student excitement and pride in the building. And these students are going to actively participate in data collection and progress monitoring for the outcome. We want to give the school to the students. We've got to build that group because they are the future. For the teachers, we're going to have walkthrough protocols that are going to assess standard operating procedures in classrooms to ensure that those environments are promoting the student self-efficacy. That professional development impact greatly benefits from continuous feedback and coaching, which will be embedded in that walkthrough instrument. And the teacher engagement at Selma Middle is going to move from a traditional whole group effort to focus on that each individual identifying unique contributions and opportunities for growth of each staff member to support that level of pride in the school. If we're going to individualize learning for kids, we've got to individualize the support we provide to our teachers as well. And I think that's it for us.
Thank you, Mr. Germanowski.
I got Ms. Smith has got, forgot a couple things she wants to share with you.
Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon. So I just wanted to share a few quick things with you as far as some areas of improvement and some areas we are really hoping to make positive changes to as we approach this restart year. As far as instructional needs, I know that this year we have given our teachers 2 different opportunities in order to create and turn in wish lists for instructional supplies and tools and classroom needs, and I can tell you that all of those have been fulfilled for this year. So every want was taken care of. In addition to our technology pieces, moving forward, we were able to buy 170 Chromebooks this year. So barring any huge Chromebook disasters between now and the end of the year, which will happen.
We also had 12 Chromebook carts that got to school today.
Yay, new carts. But that will make us starting next year's school year with over 1,000 Chromebooks for use, for student use. Yep. And the big thing that I'm excited about, because I spent a lot of time on it, Ms. Trammell and I did, is lots of new innovative furniture, $84,000 worth of innovative and collaborative furniture for our cooperative learning environments. And this includes, we were able to outfit 4 fully furnished, innovative flex seating classrooms for next year. And they are awesome, and I can't wait to put them together. Yeah.
Along with collaborative and cooperative environments for 12 other classrooms beyond the 4 totally engaging, flexible seating classrooms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a comment. Mike, Mr. Wooten.
Miss Bryant and Mr. Germanowski, I appreciate y'all sharing your teaching staff and your students with this. I mean, we can already see the passion on the leadership's faces, and when you see it on the teachers and the students, it makes me want to go back to school. It really does. Yeah, but it's exciting, but thanks for your time.
Mr. Wooten, can I make a you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go back to elementary school or middle school, but thank you all for the excitement that you bring with you to us today, and that I know that you are taking to the classroom every day. Exciting times. I cannot wait to see what comes out of this. Thank you so much.
Mr. Wooten, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
First, Ms. Bryant, Mr. Germanowski, thank y'all for bringing your part of your staff and especially Max. But you know, it's just overwhelming with excitement to see what's going on at West Smithfield and at Selma Middle School, and all this great news that we're seeing from the presentations today. It's just overwhelming compared to the negativity that we got from some of the things that were coming out of Selma Middle School in the past couple of weeks. The picture that was painted in a totally different light, and with excitement to know that you know, you guys are taking care of everything at that school. I commend you on a job well done, Mr. Germanowski, and thank you to your SIT team and other teachers for coming out today to just give us an update of exactly what is going on so that we can tell the good news throughout the county. Thank you very much.
Which it is correct, and they're going to print it correct, and they're going to show it correct. It's what Johnston County is doing in the schools, and you all did an excellent job. Thank you, Mr. Germanowski, and thank you, and Ms. Bryant, for what you all have done, and you've brought your support team with you to show, and you've got documentation as to what you're doing. I'll be to see you. Thank you.
Dr. Price.
I just want to take an opportunity to publicly thank the Innovation Department for their work and support of our Restart schools, because it's heavy lifting, and they are constantly reading, researching, and staying on the cutting edge, working with the schools, and I applaud them. I want to thank the Board of Eds for supporting our schools through innovation, and I especially want to publicly thank the administration and the staff of West Smithfield Elementary and Selma Middle. I want to thank you for your work, for your dedication, and your courage to do what's right for kids. We support you what you're doing and have faith that you will change, recreate an identity, which results in a changed perception, which impacts culture, which results in success for students and adults. And in closing, I'd be remiss not to say that I'd like to borrow a few quoted words. Recently, we were pinning our hopes of improving these schools, not on an act of changing a name of something, but on winning the hearts of our kids and giving them a voice. Thank you.
Mr. Wooten, before Dr. Price escapes the podium, he did a lot of thank you, and I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Price. Dr. and Mrs. Price celebrated their wedding anniversary, and I thought Dr. Price had told me it was 26 years, but Mrs. Price said it was 16 years, and Dr. Price said it felt like 26 years. So I just want to clarify that, and thank you both, and hope you had a good anniversary.
Ms. Price, I did recognize one thing, though. I saw how quick he responded when you said it wasn't time for the video. So.
Ms. Gill.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wooten, Lady Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Renfro, and Mr. Lawrence. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, and I have 4 items for you, 2 of which are for information and 2 which are for approval. The first item that I have is Board Exhibit 6C1, a transportation update. Transportation Services provides a crucial service to our students in Johnston County Public Schools, and the Administration and Operations Department would like to highlight some of the efforts of this team through a brief presentation. And I'm delighted to have Mr. Mike Taylor, who's our Executive Director of Growth and Planning, who is with me today, and I have encouraged him to come up and tell the good news of transportation. So I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for being here.
Welcome, Mr. Taylor, and I like your haircut.
Yes, sir. Just got one. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, Vice Chairman, person, thank you for having me. Board members, Dr. Renfro. Appreciate the opportunity to come and celebrate some of the great things that are happening with one of the more, I agree, thank you for saying that, more crucial services provided outside of the classroom to ensure the success of the future generations to come. And as it says, we're transporting our future. I've never used this before, so I'm going to assume that the right era makes it work. I was recently, a few months ago, scanning some quotes regarding transportation just to kind of share the information with our staff to help them understand the importance of what we do. And I came across this one, and it's kind of unique in a way, but I think that if those who are in education and some of the information that was shared previously, I think we understand that every day kids are at home thinking about what they want to be in life. I mean, oftentimes, I can remember back to second, third, fourth grade being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, those were dreams. Kids wanted to be something spectacular, something to be celebrated. And the plan is a transport medium, according to this author, but I see our opportunity with public school transportation to get kids to a point where they can access the information and learning to live out those dreams. So I thought that this quote kind of set the tone for what we try to do at Transportation Services. And there's always grading that takes place. Obviously, safety is always number one, but above and beyond that, our performance and efficiency is the grade in which we live by at Transportation Services. Each day, you see how many students are transported there. It's about 2/3 of the current student population. Doing it using less than 300 buses. It takes quite a few staff members, and then almost 1 mile per child that we're using in transporting our students. Did you know, this is a common introductory to a lot of interesting facts in all walks of life, but in particular, did you know that our first bus is pre-tripped and headed out at 4:48 in the morning? Many other buses will soon follow after that bus, but there are 1,206 unique routes throughout the district, serving our 44 schools that we provide transportation for those students. And at 9:05, our last bus driver is headed home to his or her family. It's a very long day, and we scatter our schedules, and we have a very committed staff who helps make that happen. Each day we have to separate our district. We do live in one of the largest school districts, as well as landmass, as well as student population and number of buses. So each day we provide fuel for 176 buses using 4 fuel trucks. We have 10 route mechanics who visit each site each day to obtain any mechanical information that needs to be addressed before the afternoon routes or the morning routes. And then we have 10 shop mechanics who do a lot of the heavy maintenance that it cannot be done out on the school site. We have 9 area coordinators, and we have 5 TIMS managers who help make sure that we process the student requests each and every day. We process, on average, about 70 requests for transportation. As I was sharing with Michelle outside, we live in a very transient society. In general, people coming to Johnston County, I think, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned that at the beginning. We have a lot of people coming. People want to come and live in Johnston County because of the great things we do with our education system. But also, we live in great communities here in Johnston County. But not only do we have people coming here, we also have families that move throughout the district to get closer to their workplace or whatnot. Then and now, I thought it would be important for especially some of our board members. Some of you were principals previously when the state was taken. Others are new to our Board of Education. But in 2008, 10 years ago, we used almost 50 more buses. We transported almost 3,000 fewer students and traveled about the same distance, mileage per day. The efficiency rating at the bottom is our grade. This is where the state determines whether or not we're using our buses and our transportation system to the highest possible level of efficiency. Obviously, our goal is to transport as many kids as possible using the fewest number of buses, traveling the fewest number of miles. That's the goal to promote the 100% efficiency. Additionally, transportation services goal is to eliminate the burden on the local budget, knowing that there are so many other things that are out there that need to be taken care of. If we can maximize our efficiency and only use state funding to provide yellow bus transportation to our kids, it lessens the impact financially on the local fund sources. Today, as I said, we're using 295 buses, transporting over 24,000 kids, and we're right at the 99% efficiency rating. It's good, but it's not perfect. We have had some 100%, so my goal is to make sure that we work toward that each and every year. And again, the goal is to eliminate any burden financially on the district or any other fund sources which can provide for other opportunities for our kids. We do currently, this is, I think, a good, important piece of information financially. We do currently have 32 credits still remaining. Basically, we're growing about 5 buses per year. So at this point, we believe that if we do not change things logistically, we have almost 6 years of banked new buses that will not negatively impact the Board of Education. Because each time we add a bus, if we were at 0, that we would have to buy that bus initially, which is currently about $92,000. So we've banked 32 buses, and we have about 6 years that we can work toward any long-range planning before we begin purchasing those buses. And in talking about that, Over the last 2 years, last year we had 43 buses. This year we got 24 buses. So next year we will have about 20 to 22% of our fleet, which will be almost brand new buses traveling our roads, bringing our kids to and from school. And next year, it looks like we're going to get 21 buses. Our buses are run for about 20 years, and depending on the mileage, and the goal is to be over 150,000 miles in that 20-year period. That may have been too quick, but if there are any questions or concerns, I'd like to address
I can't
those.
speak for the entire board, but, you know, we all have phone calls from parents, stakeholders all the time in reference to their student and, you know, student safety and efficiently getting from the house to the school and how far they got to walk and where they get picked up. And, you know, I have to say, Mr. Taylor, you and your shop has been, I don't think it's only me, I think it's all of us have been, I mean, the way you handle things promptly is unbelievable, really. I mean, compared to the network of all the buses going everywhere and what you got to keep up with and the routes that the bus drivers have to keep up with, and they change at times because we get phone calls and over student safety, we need to be picked up here versus here. It's amazing that you can keep up with all that and still run efficiently. And I wanted to just thank you in public for what you do and the network that you control behind the scenes, because our students, they begin their day walking on the bus, and how that bus driver treats them with a smile starts off their day, might be the only smile they've gotten since the next day at school, since the last day at school. So I commend for what you do, and I mean, it's a job well done, and I appreciate everything that your shop does for Johnston County Public Schools.
Question.
Greatly appreciate your gratitude, and I will share that with our team.
I echo that, as you know. Given that we grew 1,200 children this year, and given the development that I see on my way here and home in other parts of the county, is our trajectory kind of on an even keel for 6 buses, or is that curve going to get a little steeper because of our increased enrollment?
I mean, I realize that this year was an anomaly with the number of students that we have grown with collaboration with ORED and numerics. However, their projection is not to see this drastic increase each year. It's back to where we were. There was a surge, but their expectation is for us to calm down just a little bit. And I think it's about 700 kids per year after this year. So I would assume that we would still be in range for the 5 buses per year over the next 6 years.
Good deal with that.
And again, adding students, obviously we still have some buses that have seats available because of route times, but as these kids get picked up along the way, those buses would get more full.
Thank you.
You made me almost forget what I was going to say.
Total number of buses.
The buses the new buses, are they replacement buses or are they just added to the total?
These are replacement buses. We have some 96, 97 Fords, and then some 97 and 98 Freightliners that'll be replaced with this year, 2017 and 18 Carolina Thomas.
So it gives us a total of how many?
We'll still be at 295 buses unless we have to add some.
Okay.
And again, we probably will have to add about 5 for growth, as long as we focus on maintaining the same set standards that we've had previously. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. I hear you fine.
If everyone goes to the planning board like Mr. Taylor and I do every month, you'll see that with the subdivisions that are being approved and lots that are in inventory and will be built on, we will be increasing our bus fleet as years to come. Isn't that right, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We will definitely be adding 5 buses a year based on what we've seen the last several months in the planning board meeting. Yes, sir.
Mr. Taylor, I didn't see any statistics on the safety, but I know we get emails whenever little things happen, like a knocked mirror is one of the more common ones that I
Yes, ma'am.
see. So kudos to everyone for a job well done in the safety aspect of things too. I know there's all kind of weather conditions that they have to drive under, and I know fog is not their most favorite thing in the mornings, and certainly cranking up those buses on the cold days. But I know the safety statistics have to be remarkable, just seeing the emails that we get. So thank you to everybody for a job well done on that as well.
Thank you. We are very fortunate to, children traveling in the safest form of mode of any type of service transportation there is. We're very fortunate that school buses are built the way they are. But yes, the mirrors do stick out more than the buses, and with all the trucks, and we've not widened the roads, the standard road width in quite some time, and vehicles seem to be getting larger. So yes, ma'am, that is the slapping of the mirrors does happen with dump trucks and things of that nature.
I would just like to say that I knew that our TAs got up quite early, but 4:48 with the first bus for the pre-bus is just unreal, and 9:05 going home, and I just want to commend them on a job well done, especially early in the mornings with safety and taking care of our students, because numbers right, 24,000 students ride our buses every day, and we got a population of over 36,000, so 2/3 of our students are on a bus daily to and from school. And as Ms. Grant said, safety, and thank God that we have a great group of bus drivers to assist us with that, because every student's life is very important, and theirs is as well. So please share that with them, that job well done, and we appreciate their service on a daily basis.
Thank you. I will definitely share. I had the opportunity, if you will indulge me just another minute. Recently, a person came to our office and shared how impressed he was with one of our bus drivers, because she required her students to follow her hand signals. It's a new law. It's only a couple of years old. But he was just incredibly impressed and just kept going on and on and on about it. So I took the opportunity to go out to Four Oaks Middle School and congratulate the driver in the midst of her peers. And it was amazing how responsive they were, and how appreciative they were to be noticed for something good, because as several of you have said, the phone calls are generally concern, not praise. So yes, we do have an incredibly dedicated staff, and as you said, just with the time alone, many of our drivers are at work for quite some time each day, and the safety factor is definitely something to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Ms. Gill?
The second item that I have today is Board Exhibit 6C2, a safety and security update for you. Johnston County Public Schools is currently installing our 3 phases of safety and security to each of our buildings, and there is ongoing progress towards our completion of these first 3 phases. Each of the projects have a 90-day timeline for completion, with approximately 60 additional days left to complete these. The majority of these projects are all in process at this point and should be finished by the latter part of May. During the last month, the following progress has been made. With item 1, our cameras, all elementary schools with the model school design have their cables, their cameras, and their software. The team is currently working on the remaining elementary schools, and each school will receive 20 cameras positioned inside and outside of sites. But I do want to add to you that with our integrated technology team headed up by our foreman Brooks Bristow, that he is so attentive to detail as he has been installing in Selma. He came to me just today and said, 20 is not enough at Selma Elementary. There's too many halls, and he put in 30. So that's the kind of folks that we have who have said that they want to make sure it's done correctly. So just want to give him recognition for that team who is working as many hours as they possibly can to make sure this is done correctly. Our front door controlled access, this installation is occurring according to the schedule that was provided to principals, which will complete on May 25th. It began around the 20th of April with pre-assessments occurring prior to that. And it's anticipated from our installer that that could be approximately 2 to 3 weeks earlier than originally planned. The principals have been provided communication and installation schedules again for their sites. Our key fob perimeter lock installations, we are working with our operation directors who are mapping each door that's needed with our installers for the key fob locking system. The materials have been ordered. The installer is working on an installation schedule to provide to our principals. This work will take place in the late evenings and weekends to meet the completion date. This does require work from electricians and contractors to come in and actually position those pieces. And we have had to have our operation directors really work closely with them to mark each and every door and make sure that we are doing that correctly. May 2nd, we're having a lockdown simulation. Our principals and assistant principals will attend this practice lockdown simulation of a crisis, which will be located in North Johnston High School. And that is being headed up by Mr. Chase Farrell, our lead operations director, in conjunction with emergency management and Kevin Hubbard. This is a Homeland Security grant which was coordinated by emergency management. It will be including multiple agencies across our district, being law enforcement and different municipalities. And I will also say that this has been an ongoing effort all year long. We got this in the early fall, and our principals have been getting pieces of information at each one of the principals' meetings to prepare for this simulation. Our school security campus assessments, at one of our recent policy review meetings, we had the pleasure of meeting a retired Secret Service agent who is also a full-time substitute in our school system, very invested in the success of Johnston County Public Schools. And he has just a wealth of information. And we are contracting with him to work 2 to 3 hours at each one of our school sites to do a full assessment of each one of our sites, in addition to the things we're already doing as far as movement of students and additional items to increase their safety and security there as well. So we have been very hard at work, and we will continue to do so, but it's my pleasure to give you an update this afternoon.
Any questions for Ms. Gill? Thank you, Ms. Gill.
All right, our third item is Board Exhibit 6C3. We have a technology equity district-wide purchase of $560,000 worth of Chromebooks that we would like to purchase. And I do have a PowerPoint that was developed by Michelle Turnage, who is here, and she's going to come up to the front. She is our technology officer. And we're going to walk through this. Michelle, if possible, could you drive this for me? Thank you. And if you could, because I can't do two things at once, that's for sure. If you could just hold that for just a second, I'm going to go through what we're actually asking for, and then I'm going to ask Michelle if she'll take you through some of the specifics to make sure that we have clear understanding. So Johnston County Public Schools is challenged with acquiring adequate inventories to complete our online testing. And in fact, over the last few years, many of our schools have actually had to borrow or lend devices to other schools. This has proven to be a logistical burden. And after reviewing our inventories, enrollment, equity, and testing schedules, the technology team has devised a Chromebook purchase plan that will address equity and provide each school with additional devices. This is a two-phase purchasing plan, and I'm going to turn it over and let Michelle, would you walk us through just a couple of these things for us? Thank you.
Do you use the slides or
Yes,
just? Okay. All right, as we know, we're continually challenged with acquiring adequate inventories to complete online testing. The last 2-3 years, there's been substantial increases in online testing. In fact, I think this year is probably our largest. online testing community. So we're doing all we can. Schools have already had to borrow. So we've had to move our baseline up, you know, what schools need to have without having to borrow and lend devices themselves. So after looking at inventories and enrollment, we're trying to set a baseline for middle schools at 1-to-1, or actually, excuse me, 1.1. So just about every middle school will be at 1-to-1 simply because they do test pretty much everybody at the same time. Elementaries, their online testing population is 3 through 5. So based on their numbers, enrollments, and devices from grades 3 through 5, we'll try to establish them at 1.1 also. That gives them a little bit of surplus because there's a lot of breakage right now. We have a lot of devices, probably 36,000 Chromebooks across the district at this point, and there's a lot of breakage. You know, some of it's intentional, some of it's not intentional, but it happens, and it's going to happen. So we're trying to be sure they have surplus. For high schools, went the wrong way. High schools, we're trying to get them at 0.95 devices per student. They're kind of a different beast. They have a little different testing, so it's really hard to kind of measure where they are. I know one school, for example, they've done all their testing, everything that could test online they have been, and it's probably about 69% of their population. So just comparatively speaking, I looked at all the ratios across all the high schools. Some of them really low, some of them really high, so I tried to get a happy medium that would accommodate their testing. And that's at 0.95. It's definitely not the baseline, it's a little better than that. Okay, in part 2, you know, the district, the last few years, we've been able to make substantial purchases for the schools across, you know, for everybody. So we're looking at getting 1,500 devices, and then based on your student enrollment and device ratio, we kind of calculate it out so everybody gets per enrollment. With the one exception would be the new school that opened this year, Swift Creek, because they were opened well over their 1-to-1 enrollment. And between the 1,500 and the 1-to-1 purchases for part 2, it's about 2,500 devices-ish. And if you include another 120 for Innovation Academy that's opening up, we're going to go ahead and bundle their purchase in with this purchase. It'll be a little over, but that's the reason why. So it might be 570,000. So we're looking at getting 2,600 plus Chromebooks in. What we're hoping, it will establish a baseline for principals to work with and try to maintain. Refresh is always an issue. We have 4,000 that are going obsolete next year. So we're just trying to do our best effort to help them out as best we can while we're still trying to wrangle the whole refresh.
That was going to be my question. I know these phase out over a certain number of years, and you have to keep updating. So.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate with Chromebooks. Their life expectancy is about 6.5 years. When we purchase Chromebooks, we always try to get the latest, greatest model. We're pretty adamant about that regardless of the price. We still get the best price possible, but the ones for this purchase just came out last month, so they're guaranteed a good 6.5 years. And usually they can get another half year out. And we haven't looked at the models going obsolete yet. Whether or not they can use them for testing next year, it all depends on which Chrome OS that the NC online test folks say is the minimum we'll take. So we're hoping those devices will carry that through. But yeah, schools have got to really start looking at inventory is different these days. It has got to be, it's imperative that it's accurate. It's imperative that we look at inventories, accurate inventories to make budgeting, planning decisions. I mean, I wrangle this every day, and they got to know what's in their school, what's dying, what won't work, simply because of online testing and meeting their students' needs.
It's got one question.
Uh-huh.
Did I hear correctly? Roughly, we got 36,000 Chromebooks.
Roughly, yes.
Roughly, and that's including maybe 4,000 they're going to obsolete. So we're very close to a 1-to-1 ratio across the school district.
We're close, but a lot of those are teacher Chromebooks.
Okay.
I can't remember the total for the student,
Okay.
but we're still close. It's probably like 32,000.
Okay.
We're all over it, but it all depends on how the schools manage it. If you assign devices to students, which you get a little more ownership, less breakage because their name's on it and they know whose it is, as opposed to putting a class set of 30 in every single class, you have a lot of fluff that just kind of sits there. So it just Depends on how the school's set up and the most efficient use and how wiggly they get with it.
Right, and then once they're not broken.
Yeah, that's another issue altogether.
Ms. Turnage, we talked about in policy committee insuring these. Is that covering some of this, or is it just for those that are newer? I mean, if they're 6 years old and they've given their life expectancy, I wouldn't expect a lot of insurance coverage, but.
Right. Some of them have a year warranty. They don't have accidental breakage or damage, and it's a $225 device. You know, if you pay $80 for 3 years, you know, we're better off not insuring it and just. We are trying to fix stuff in-house, but the breakage is getting so high, and we have 6 techs, so that's getting to be a struggle. So we're trying to find some outside options for schools, but when you go to outside options, it goes to more funding and salaries and stuff, or not for salaries, excuse me, funding, and then paying for it. So we're kind of at a crossroads where we really got to figure out how we can support the damage and breakage. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time. Hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon.
So upon the recommendation of the Administration and Operations Department, it's recommended to purchase devices to balance the need for assessments in the schools and to increase the number of student devices for classroom based upon the enrollment in those individual schools. Additionally, we hope to eliminate the need for the schools to be required to borrow or lend devices for testing, which has proven to be a burden. These items are on our state contract, and they are presented today for approval for this purchase.
This is that action item, district technology purchases. I entertain a motion. Motion by Dr. Smith.
Second.
Second by Todd Sutton. Any other questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Gill.
My final item is Board Exhibit 6C4, Johnston County Public Schools Procurement Plan for School Nutrition. This is an updated procurement plan for school nutrition created by the Department of Public Instruction, the School Nutrition Services Division specifically. This is information that's needed in order for us to bid goods and services for school nutrition, including cafeteria items. And upon the recommendation of Administration and Operation, it's recommended to approve the use of this procurement plan as recommended by the Department of Public Instruction.
Another action item, school nutrition procurement plan. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Todd Sutton. Second by Teresa Grant. Any questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Gill.
Thank you
Dr.
for your
Renfro.
support.
Did you have something, Ms. Gill, that you were getting ready to say?
The only thing that I was getting ready to say is I'm very thankful for all the very smart people that I work with in Administration and Operations. As you can tell, these folks do a tremendous job, and I want to thank you for your continuous support of all that we do.
I'm sorry I walked all over your statement. I didn't mean to push
You
it
are the
along.
board chair.
Thank you for everything you do.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we are fortunate to have another one of our student leaders with us today. I believe Olivia was in Ms. Grant's group, Group 1, at our student leaders luncheon. And I did not make commentary at that time, but unfortunately, Olivia has decided to go to college next year in Chapel Hill. So as good as she is, she's going to be going to Carolina. But Olivia Price from Smithfield Selma. Olivia, glad to have you today. You are appreciated.
Olivia, you know, we're talking about public speaking. Would you like to speak?
Olivia will take you up on it now because she is very verbose and is not shy. But if you have anything to add, Olivia, there's the podium.
Thank you for being here. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We will reconvene our Board of Education meeting, starting with Ms. Crystal Roberts.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wooten, Lady Vice Chair Johnson, members of the board, and Dr. Renfro, our superintendent. It gives me great pleasure to have this opportunity to introduce you to our communication and engagement department. So as you know, it's a new department, but we're old hat at what we do, and we want to make sure that you understand what we do on behalf of the students and staff of the Johnston County Public Schools. So what we'd like for you to know is that communication and engagement was created to reinforce this district's commitment to effective communication and ongoing engagement with our publics, which includes our internal audiences, students, staff, ourselves, of course. So our mission simply is to establish and maintain effective district and community relations that supports and ultimately promotes students' success. That's what we're all here for. So what we try to do in communication and engagement is walk the talk, interact with each other as we would want others to interact and share positive, productive information. We also provide and manage products, resources, and services that promote student and staff success. And then we share the good news from our department. So without further ado, make sure I know how to do that. Why communication and engagement? And what we've learned as a department is that you always start with your why. So we want to share with you that our role is to build and maintain relationships, facilitate and celebrate innovation, build an effective team, contribute to the growth of the district, and ensure transparency. I want to introduce to you who serves our students and staff and other stakeholders in communication and engagement. And I have what I call my team leads here with me this afternoon. We're missing Tracy Peden-Jones because she is at home sick with bronchitis. So hello, Tracy. She may be watching. And so I will probably read her portion. But I want to introduce you to Dan Hicks, who is Executive Director for Information Services, as well as Ray Stott, who is our Student Services Officer. And you can see that we do have other staff members as part of the Communication and Engagement Department who help to promote the success of this district. I'd like to call Mr. Dan Hicks to the podium to tell you about Power School and how it fits into communication and engagement. Dan?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So as you can see, the Information Services Department supports various applications and programs in support of the school district and our community. Power School is the core and primary data source for student information, which allows us to disseminate data for our educators, our students, our parents, and community. We're able to use this data to enhance personal learning, guiding our students to a successful academic career. We also support our phones and cell phones, which are key to telecommunicating with each other and our community. Our department is also constantly looking at ways to innovate this technology into the school district and finding better ways to enhance maybe even security in our schools. E-rate, which is administered by the Universal Service Administration Company under the direction of the Federal Communications Commission, provides funding for technology connectivity. Johnston County Schools is in our 20th year of utilizing the E-rate program. In the 2017-18 school year, we've applied and received over $1.1 million in E-rate funding for the school district. Other areas of support include managing essential list of Google email groups, and assisting with the administration of SchoolDude, a web-based application which is used for tracking technology and facility-type issues and tickets. Also, Information Services also manages EDI, which is the Educational Directory of Demographical Information Exchange, which is an online application containing LEA and school information, such as LEA numbers, school numbers, administrative contacts, school types, grade levels, calendar types, program types, addresses, and more. EDI does not contain any individual teacher or student information. It also is used by multiple systems, including Accountability, PowerSchool, North Carolina School Report Cards, and is used to meet federal reporting requirements. We also serve as the point of contact for providing data to the North Carolina Department of Instruction in support of the federal government's civil rights data collection. So those are just, in summary, some of the things that we support. Are there any questions before I turn it over?
Any questions?
You also support us when our computers go on the blink, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I first I thought you said that you support Eddie Price when that Eddie. But
Well, that too. That happens a lot, believe me.
I thought that said manage Eddie.
Yeah, that's impossible, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
I'll just share with you the public information piece, which is we serve, this entire department serves as the hub for the district. So public information provides just that. We respond to public information requests from our media and stakeholders. And then we also are responsible for internal and external communications, ADA compliance, which is very, very important because we want to make sure that everyone has access to our information, and then FERPA, HIPAA, and sunshine laws, as well as community and parent engagement. And as you'll see, there's a long list there where as you know, our award-winning video production staff provides technology or broadcast productions showing what we are doing here in the Johnston County Public Schools. Our printing services department is very well run. Our Johnston County Public Schools website is kept up to date, as you know. And our social media, that is a kind of a new phenomenon. And just staying on top of that is quite a job. But we just heard, as Dr. Renfro mentioned, our student leader luncheon, we just heard that they thought we were doing a pretty good job, particularly our superintendent, who is very active on social media because they feel that they are very well informed. And they said that he's very professional on social media. So we are very proud of that. And then, of course, our ConnectEd mass notification system and a new mobile app that I believe Tracy trained you on last month. So we also conduct media relations, and then, of course, special recognitions we take care of. So now I'd like to ask Ray Stott to come and talk about student services and what we do there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
When I have an opportunity to promote student services, I always refer to our part of the communication engagement as the ministry part of our school system. Not to take away from what our teachers do in ministering to the needs of the students each and every day, but the folks I get to work with have a special opportunity to minister to the needs of students. We have 96 counselors across our schools to deal with the social, emotional needs of students each and every day. Obviously, at the high school level, they're there to make sure they're taking the courses they need to get into college and apply, and those scholarships and all those different things that they do. Our nurses, 19 of them across our school system that deal with health care plans, from tube feeding students to diabetic care plans, asthma treatment, all those different things. So And more, just the way our system's set up, a lot of these kids, our nurses are treated as the first line of defense. Parents may say, well, we're not going to go to the doctor right now. You could go see the school nurse tomorrow. And so they have incredible tasks in front of them. And then our school social workers, we have 14, and just the obstacles that they work with in trying to remove for students and families, whether it's students in foster care, students who are homeless. And we have a large number of homeless in Johnston County. And I know Mr. Taylor left, but I'd like to echo what's already been said about transportation. When we call his office saying that this student has become homeless and we're aware of it, it's usually only the next day before we have them on the bus. So he does a great job there. Our student advocates working specifically to work with potential dropouts. They do a great job. Our dropouts continue to decrease. I think was already mentioned this earlier by Dr. Smith. And just looking at our current numbers of dropouts, I do want to share the most up-to-date. We hope that, again, next year when dropouts are reported, that will show another decrease. As of the 3rd of April, we have 88 dropouts in Power School as of right now, but on the 3rd of April last year, we had 106. So we are on pace to show another decrease, so we're excited about that. Our driver's education is also in student services. We have 30, that says 38. I actually hired one yesterday for Princeton. One of our instructors down there is getting ready to retire, so we're making sure that we've got folks covered at Princeton. But, they serve over 3,000 kids a year to make sure that when they get on the road and behind the wheel that they're safe. And then a great program I have an opportunity to be a part of, JoCo Teen Drivers. Have really made a difference, the clubs in each high school, in bringing awareness to distracted drivers and driving to the students. And a lot of times where students won't listen to us necessarily, they'll listen to their peers, and that has been a great program. Also, opportunity that Mr. Hicks and myself have tackled this year is the new enrollment process through Power School. We're very excited about that. We've already got almost 1,700 students, kindergartners, for next year registered online through this new process. And so we're very excited about that. Foreign exchange, Johnston County, not only is a place where folks from other counties and other states move, but from other countries. They want to come here and be part of our program. And so our foreign exchange program continues to grow. And then our prestigious scholarships. We've got some planning coming up for Moorhead Kane scholarships and Park Scholarship, and so we're always excited to have candidates for that. It was exciting this morning when I sent out an email to 8 different principals and 8 different guidance counselors. We just made decisions on the State Employees Credit Union People Helping People Scholarship, and to send out 8 winners of $10,000 apiece scholarships, that's exciting. And I know those parents who are going to get that news in just a little while are going to be really excited too. So that's some of what we do in student services. And although that's the end of my presentation, this is actually also my last board meeting. So I want to say thank you to this current board, previous board, superintendent, previous superintendents for the opportunity to serve. It has been my pleasure. Thank you for all you do. You will always remain on the top of my prayer list. Any questions?
I just have a comment, Mr. Ray.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service to Johnston County Public Schools. You have truly made a difference in a lot of students' lives, as everybody else that you've come in contact with. So thank you for that. And we talk about nurses, and this has been on WRL quite a bit about nurse shortage across the state. And I would just like to give a shout out to all 19 nurses, and especially my sister-in-law, who actually happens to be a school nurse, working with 36,000 students. And you mentioned feeding tubes and tracheotomies and different things that these students have, and asthma action plans. I'm in pharmaceutical business. I understand what an asthma action plan, it comes in contact, they need it at that point in time. But the diabetics, the list goes on. That these nurses are not just first aid, putting a Band-Aid on a cut, which they do, but they're far more intense that they do on a daily basis. So they're a very critical line to Johnston County Public Schools, and something we need to continue to increase our nurse population within our school system. So thank you to all the nurses. Thank you for your whole staff for what they do on a daily basis.
Thank you. I'll certainly share that thankfulness with them. Dr. Smith, I am retiring, but I'm not retiring from the school system, and I know I'm too young. I look too young to retire. But my brother and I have a ministry called Purpose Driven Baseball, and I'm going to be working with that ministry in a greater capacity, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, let me just add my congratulations to those of Mr. Sutton and your family. You've had your health struggles with your family, and I just keep you in my prayers as well.
Thank you.
And we do appreciate all you've done as principal, as central office staff, and as a teacher. You left a legacy, and we appreciate it very much.
And a lot of the principals that are in here I work with, all these folks on this side, and Dr. Coates and Christy and Chris, all those different folks, it's been a privilege. I'm going to be a granddad in August as well. And Leah, who you're talking about with the health scare, she's doing great. And my son graduates this summer. So, hey, I am a blessed person.
And Mr. Stott, I would like to say that, you still got time to change your mind, but, and I'll give you that time, and I'm happy for you. But I wanted to thank you in public for the time you invested in my son.
It was a blessing for me. He's referring to his son's Michael, my son's Michael. I had a chance to coach with him, but I'd rather coach with Paula, his wife. She's a better coach than he is. But yeah, Michael played with us, played ball. I coached him in basketball, baseball. It was a blessing. Dr. Renfro's kids came through. Trish and Jenna came through my middle school. Noah going to school with my son at North. Like I said, I'm a blessed man.
But what I wanted to say, that he's poured himself in children a long, long time. Not just in sports, but in his Christian walk. So the organization he's been involved with, Purpose Driven Baseball, is Christian based, and not only has he done it in the classroom for many years, but he does it on his own time, pouring God into other people, and growing up and being a man and doing the right things and walking the narrow road that we all need to walk on, and we can go off that path, but Ray, in his Christian ways, it reaches these kids through baseball to teach them about the Lord, and I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
As Dr. Smith said, Mr. Stott has served in a various number of capacities since leaving the principalship, but I appreciate him serving as a mentor to so many of our people. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. And Dr. Renfro, Mr. Wooten, members of the board, I want to go on record as well, just saying thank you to Ray. We will miss him because he is top-notch. And has made a difference for the Johnston County Public Schools. So we thank you for your service, and I wanted to go on record and just say that I'm blessed to have worked with you for the past year. So thank you so much, and we'll wrap this up by just sharing with you that, as you heard from Mr. Hicks in his area, information services, we provide products that help our parents to communicate and stay on top of things for their students. The Power School, online kindergarten registration, which he and Ray worked very well together on, and it was a mammoth project. And then our student services, interacting with each other, because this is a team approach in terms of making sure that our students and staff are successful. And then public information. Everyone's interested in that because of the fact that we want to make sure that we are on top of and in front of ensuring that the good news gets out. And so, as you know, we have an award-winning team that leads us in that effort. There are plenty of ways to stay involved and stay actively engaged. And we are right there taking the lead with that. And so you'll see some of the results of the team effort and this communication and engagement department. And just wanted to thank you, the Board of Education, and our superintendent for endorsing his vision of expanding our reach and strengthening our commitment to education and public education ambassadorship through effective communication and transparency. And I leave you with a quote, an anonymous quote that says, "The art of communication is the language of leadership," and we are proud to lead this effort. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
So I won't take any time with the news coverage summary and save the date. Mr. Wooten, I will pitch it to you because your news coverage summary you have, save the date, is a PowerPoint.
It is a PowerPoint, and save the date is good for the board members to keep handy to find out what's going on. And also the Johnston County Planning Board, you know, as I said earlier in our meeting, that we're blessed to live in a county that's growing. Well, you can go to a planning board meeting and you see that we're continuing to grow. There's probably 3 or 4 subdivisions approved every month. So where there's subdivisions approved, there's houses being built, and there's students, additional students to go in Johnston County schools. So we're in a growth pattern, and we'll stay engaged with our county commissioners to try to tackle that growth and build new schools. Thank you, Ms. Roberts. You want to take a 5-minute break to get everyone in here, or
I think that
are they ready?
Is probably watching, and at any moment that door will open.
Okay, no problem.
Here they come. We're going to give the parents just a moment to come in so that they can take part in this as well.
Feel free to file in, and welcome to your Johnston County Public Schools Board meeting. If you're a parent or family member that has a camera, I know everyone likes to take pictures. This is your boardroom, so please come behind the board if you would like, so you can get a good front picture of your student. This boardroom is yours, so feel free to walk and mingle around wherever you need to get a good shot during this presentation. Thank you.
All right. So this is our favorite part of the board meeting, as we all know, because we are able to celebrate and recognize our students and staff during this portion. And we'll start with our character ed recognitions. And our first student comes to us from East Clayton Elementary School. And I'd like to invite Liberty to join me at the podium. Come right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liberty Sarasso. She is a 5th grade student at East Clayton Elementary School, where her principal or lead learner is Jamie Tyler, and her parent is Tracy Boyette. And here's what we have to say about Liberty, and I just love her name. When hearing the definition of courage, we at East Clayton Elementary immediately thought of liberty. Although always managing to brighten the day of those around her, Liberty, unbeknownst to many, has endured her fair share of obstacles in life. At the young age, Liberty and her mother were already forced to adapt and overcome a tragic loss to their family. Showing the epitome of courage, Liberty's father was a combat soldier in Iraq. Observing a potential dangerous device, Liberty's father ordered distance between his fellow soldiers and the device. While investigating, the device detonated, leaving him killed in action. He saved many soldiers' lives that day. We tell you this story specifically because it shows how Liberty and her mother had to adapt and overcome early in Liberty's young life. She carries great poise and demonstrates her maturity, especially when she shares the story of her father. While raising Liberty as a single mother, Tracy has produced an amazing young woman. This amazing young lady shows great tenacity and does not back down to challenges. She has shown throughout time, dedication, and hard work that she will do what it takes to accomplish her goals. We have watched as she has grown beyond belief. Her strength and ability to overcome adversity is an inspiration to us all. Liberty's sentiment extends far beyond the classroom, even managing to teach lessons to people far beyond her years. No matter how distracting or discouraging a situation might be, Liberty focuses on the things that will lead her to success in life. While Liberty is a talented gymnast, actress, and friend, she is also an amazing daughter and student. And we at East Clayton Elementary School and Johnston County Public Schools are honored to have such an inspiration in our classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, Liberty Sarasso. Did you know all of that about yourself? We are so very proud of you, Liberty, and please accept this as a small token of our appreciation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next student comes to us from Four Oaks Elementary School, and I'd like for Callie Hernandez to join me at the podium. Callie. Callie Hernandez is a fifth grade student at Four Oaks Elementary School, where her principal is Kathy Parrish. Her parents are Juan Hernandez. The fifth grade team from Four Oaks Elementary School proudly selects Callie Hernandez. She is a student who exemplifies the character trait of courage in everyday circumstances, as well as circumstances that come her way in life. Her courageous spirit has enabled her to overcome personal adversity in the last few weeks, having to endure a family tragedy. Despite the challenges she has faced, she continues to come to school with a positive attitude and excellent work ethic, and she is currently on the principal's list. She is willing to try new things at school even when she may feel uncomfortable about it. She continues to encourage other students on a daily basis while she faces the struggles of her own. Callie's ability to continue to be a great student, a great friend, and a great daughter are the reasons we want to acknowledge her with this award. We know her mother would be proud of Callie if she could be with us today. Four Oaks Elementary is proud to present Callie Hernandez for the character trait of courage. Her courage and strength inspire those around her on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, Callie Hernandez. Callie, please accept these gifts as a token of our appreciation. We are so very proud of you. You're welcome. Our next student comes to us from Four Oaks Middle School, and that student is Casey Holland. Casey will join me at the podium. Casey? Casey's principal at Four Oaks Middle School is Toll Avery. He is an 8th grade student at Four Oaks Middle School, and his parents are Connie and Candace Holland. Here's what they have to say about Casey. Casey Holland, an 8th grader at Four Oaks Middle, exemplifies the quality of courage on a daily basis. He never questions whether or not to do what is right. It's just part of who he is. Despite pressures from everyday middle school life, Casey continues to make positive choices and encourages others to do the same. Being courageous amongst fellow teenagers is never easy, but Casey's virtuous nature always shines through. He does what is right because he sees how his positive choices now will positively impact his future. Casey was chosen for this month because he always demonstrates courage in the classroom many times throughout the day. Casey is courageous when he stands up for what he knows is right. Even if his peers aren't making the best choices, Casey isn't afraid to always do the right thing. We are very lucky to have Casey as a student. Ladies and gentlemen, Casey Holland. Casey, we have something for you as well. Please accept these as small tokens of our appreciation. We are so very proud of you. Our third student comes to us from Glendale Kinley Elementary School, and I'd like to ask Hannah Arant, our 5th grade student, to join me. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Arant? Arant. All right. Hannah's principal is Cole Yarborough, and we are joined by our assistant principal this afternoon. Her parents are Daniel and Melora Arant. Here's what we have to say about Hannah. Hannah Arant is a true example of this character trait. She has the ability to do the right thing, even though it may be frightening, and when others are not doing what is right. She is not afraid to be a leader for others. Hannah is standing up for what she believes in, and she has shown examples of this at school. Hannah is a very shy, quiet person by nature, so for her to step up and be a leader takes a lot of courage. Hannah recently asked her teacher and principal to lead a religious group as one of the school's clubs that meet each Friday. She has organized a Bible study with other students that meets during recess. She recently stood in front of a retired educator brunch at Glendale Kinley and blessed the food of the participants. On numerous occasions, Hannah has been courageous by helping peers to resolve conflicts between each other. Hannah exhibits courage almost daily and is an excellent role model for others. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannah Arant. Hannah, please accept these gifts as a small token of our congratulations and well wishes. Congratulations. Last but certainly not least, our student from McGee's Elementary School is Emily Beasley. Emily, please join me at the podium. We got to take a picture before the meeting started, so we're all already buds. So Emily is a fourth grade student at McGee's Elementary School, where her principal is Christy Turner. Her parents are Brian and Stephanie Beasley. And here's what we have to say about Emily. Emily displays courage each day through her interactions with classmates and teachers. Courage is defined as doing the right thing even when others do not. And Emily certainly portrays that character trait in the classroom and in school. She has an amazing spirit full of love for all of her classmates. She often befriends students who are struggling to make friends and offers assistance when others are unwilling to help. Emily stands up for what is right, even if those choices are not necessarily popular. She also shows courage by her willingness to take risks in order to achieve growth in her academics. She is excited by opportunities that stretch her thinking and push her beyond her comfort zone in class. She is eager to move forward in her learning and grow from her mistakes. She cultivates unique interests in topics, and she puts forth 110% of her effort in everything she does, even if it's difficult. The most remarkable way Emily has shown courage is the way she proudly handles the absence of her older brother, Randall, who left on November the 20th for the National Guard to attend intelligence school. Emily is extremely proud of him and misses him tremendously. She made a PowerPoint to explain the National Guard to her classmates. She proudly celebrated with her family in Oklahoma as they attended his graduation from intelligence school. Emily has been strong while he has been gone away, even though she misses him very much. Emily is such a worthy student to be recognized for her courage, and we are thankful and proud to have her at McGee's Elementary and with the Johnston County Public Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Beasley. Emily, please accept this as a small token of our appreciation. We are so very proud of you. You're welcome. Always gives me great pleasure because we can learn so much from our young people. Thank you. Our next recognition item will recognize or honor our Johnston County Public Schools Elementary School Battle of the Books winners. So we want to tell you a little bit about that. The Elementary School Battle of the Books competition was held at Johnston Community College on March 9th. All 23 Johnston County elementary schools competed. The regular competition ended in a tie with 281 points. After 2 tiebreaker rounds, Princeton came in first place with 317 total points. These students have advanced to the Region 3 Battle of the Books competition, where they will represent Johnston County Schools at Campbell University on April 26, 2018. So I'd like for the first place winners, Princeton Elementary School, to join me at the podium so that you can see them. If you'll just surround me here, just stand in front of that podium so that you can see them. And I'm going to call out their names as well as the coaches' names. And as you can see, there's a nice big trophy there for, for the community to see as well. So I'd like to call out, and if there's anyone who'd like to stand in behind the board and get pictures, please feel free. Please feel free.
Ms. Roberts, did you say first place?
First place.
I thought that's what you said.
Yes. Now, here are their names. And as I call your name, young people, if you'll just raise your hand so they can put a face with a name, okay? First place, Princeton Elementary School, Trenton Allen. Let me put my glasses on. Kimani Bridges. Ava Fallon, or Fallon, okay. Fallon, okay. Morgan Gaster. Bryson Irby, Carson King, Blake Martin, Cheyenne Pendergraft. She's sick, okay. Maria Rosas, Carly Russell, Landon Stanley, and Jacob Worley. Now, the Princeton coaches, because they're pretty awesome as well, are Cindy Harrington and Debbie Hickey, okay? So we want to recognize again Princeton Elementary, and they've got their medals on and everything.
Miss Roberts.
Yes.
Would you have one of them tell us how many books they read? I know, but I want them to tell the rest of the board.
Come to the, or I could have handed it to you, I'm sorry.
I've read all the books twice, and if I read 5 more books, I've read them all 3 times each.
And how many books are there?
There are 15 books.
Excellent. Okay. Any more questions of these young people? Okay.
I can say is a job well done. We're proud of it.
Absolutely. Come on around and shake their hands. Perfect. Did you want to say anything about that? You sure? Okay. This is our opportunity. Okay.
When we come back after regionals, I'll have a speech. Ms. Roberts, are they finished?
Meadow. This is Meadow, right? Meadow? Yes, right here. Just step in front of the podium, okay? Right here. There you go. Hi. Congratulations again. Now, after 2 tiebreaker rounds, 2, not 1, Meadow came in second place with a total of 314 points. They are being recognized today for making history as being one of 2 teams to score over 300 points for the first time in the elementary Battle of the Books competitions in the Johnston County Public Schools. So our second place Meadow School team members, and if you'll, yes, absolutely. Please feel free if you'd like to take pictures. Step behind the.
Sorry about that, Ms. Roberts.
That's okay. We want to make sure. Okay, wonderful. Now, as I call your names, if you will raise your hands so that the board members can put faces with names and your superintendent. So here we go. Katie Ruth Jones, Jackson Lee, Anastasia March, Joan Morales Lopez, Luis Ponce Avila, Maddox Sills, Ava Strickland, Amanda Tart, Delana Thornton, Anna Presley Warren, Ellen Vandenberg, and Emma Williford. So these are our winning team members, and I'd like to mention their coaches, because as I said before, they are awesome as well. Our middle school coaches are Heather Sutton and Lori Keith. Congratulations. So proud of you. Thank you. You can come right in front of the podium. Just stand right in front of me. And just a note here that all of this good news we're going to be sending out, and that's why we live stream so that our community can hear all of the good things that are happening. And if you'll help us be ambassadors and share this good news with as many people as you can, we would appreciate it, because we're all in this together, because this is fabulous and we don't want it to be a best kept secret. So our Johnston County Public Schools 2018 Middle School Battle of the Books winners. This competition was held at the West Campus Conference Center and Gym on February 23rd. 12 of the 13 Johnston County middle schools competed. The following students and team won first place, and these students have advanced to the Region 3 Battle of the Books competition, where they will represent Johnston County Public Schools in Durham on April 13th, which is right around the corner. So we wish you all the best. So, as I call your name, if you will raise your hand. Larry Bonham, Haley Casper, Jack Helmer, Amelia Linton, Emily Meinert, Franklin Melton, Carolyn Quick, Cassidy Sauls, and Claire Stinson. Now, these fabulous coaches, the fabulous coaches are Sarah Lee and Jenny Pitts. Ladies and gentlemen, your middle school Battle of the Books winners.
Miss Roberts,
Yes.
we know how many books the elementary read. How many did the middle school read?
Who wants to be your spokesperson? Who can tell Ms. Dr. Smith how many books? Want to talk about how many books? No, not really? There it is. Don't be shy, please.
27. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm? Riverwood. Thank you. I'll mention that. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Riverwood Middle School. I'm sorry, I failed to note the name. And if our high school Battle of the Books winners will join me at the podium, just stand right in front of the podium so everyone can see you. And turn that way. Just step back just a little bit because we want the camera to be able to see you. Step back towards the podium. There we go. And if there are parents or administrators who want to go behind the board members and get your good pictures, feel free. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about this competition, and when I call your names, if you will raise your hand. So the first high school Battle of the Books competition in the history of Johnston County Public Schools was held at the West Campus Conference Center on March 23, 2018. The North Carolina School Library Media Association extended this competition to the high school level this year. 4 of 7 Johnston County public high schools competed. And I want to share with you the names of these winning students. They are from Clayton High School. And the team members, as I said, if you'll just raise your hand as I say your name. Deanna Casey. Did I mispronounce it? Okay. Leanna Fox. Sydney Godwin. Margaret Honeycutt, Holly Lines, Isabel Martin, Noel Robertson, and Jordan Williams. The coach is media specialist Deanne Holcomb. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, High School Battle of the Books. You're welcome, thank you. Congratulations. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you also have in your packet a proclamation entitled Week of the Young Child. And because we are here about young children and students, we wanted to take part in recognizing the Week of the Young Child, which will be April 16th through the 20th. And I'll read that to you for the purposes of our community. Whereas the Johnston County Public Schools, in conjunction with the North Carolina Association for the Education of Young Children and National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 16th through 20th, 2018. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Johnston County. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth through age 8 who make a difference in the lives of young children in Johnston County deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society, we, the Johnston County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim April 16th through the 20th as the Week of the Young Child and encourage all citizens to work to support and invest in early childhood in Johnston County. And this proclamation is signed by our board chair and our superintendent. So we thank you for your support. This is what we are here for, is our young children. I'm going to ask Dr. Paula Coates to join me at the podium because we're going to recognize one of our fabulous staff members, and I'll tell you why, and then she's going to elaborate on this fabulous staff member. This is the National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators State Leadership Award. And we are recognizing today Anna Milizzato, who is our Johnston County Public Schools Director of Federal Education Programs, who was presented this award, the National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators State Leadership Award for North Carolina on March 20th in Washington, D.C. at the 2008 NAF EPA conference. And I'll let Dr. Coates tell you a little bit more about our wonderful staff member. Co-worker, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. I'm delighted to celebrate Anna because I don't have to tell you how wonderful she is. She's outstanding in her role as a leader. She loves children. She has a servant's heart. She cares about her team. She's just a wonderful person. I'm very happy to call her a colleague and friend. And what makes this state award so special to me is that she was nominated and selected by peers, other directors of federal education programs in the state. So they recognize the same things. Folks have tried to steal her from us, and she is dedicated to Johnston County Public Schools, for which I am very grateful, as I know you are as well. So without further ado, I would like to recognize Anna Milizzato.
And you have to show it all. And you should say something.
Oh,
please.
I don't know what to say. It's just an honor to call Johnston County my home since 1998 when I moved from Brazil to Johnston County. So, and I've seen a lot of changes, but always for the best. And I appreciate everybody.
While she's shaking your hands, I will just tell you that the National Association of Federal Education Program Administrators presents each year the State Leadership Award to current members who have assumed significant roles in the support and promotion of activities and goals of the state affiliate organizations. And for that, we are very proud and we appreciate you, Anna. And now, Brian Vetrano.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Always glad to be here to recognize wonderful employees. We have outstanding students, and they're led by outstanding adults, and so it's always wonderful to come before you and recognize some of those individuals. We had a great day yesterday visiting 2 schools. We had a chance to tour the county. We went to the Corinth area and then all the way to the McGee's area. So we traveled much yesterday recognizing some employees. But our first employee, our classified employee of the month, Ms. Tammy Baker. Ms. Baker, if you'll please come forward and join me to my right. Ms. Baker serves as the school nutrition manager at McGee's Crossroads Elementary. She was nominated by her principal, Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner shared that Ms. Baker is a first-year school nutrition manager, but one would never know it. She approaches every single task with 100% effort and positivity. She's created a wonderful atmosphere in the cafeteria that welcomes all of the students. She planned amazing activities for each day of National School Breakfast Week that increased the participation in breakfast each day exponentially. Before the week even started, the school was filled with eye-catching posters that invited students to eat breakfast as well as reminded children of the importance of breakfast. Mrs. Baker also invited special guests to come and serve breakfast each day: school administration, local fire department members, Smokey the Bear, the manager of the local McDonald's, Dr. Renfro, cabinet members, Muddy the Mudcat, and our Board of Education members. Exciting prizes were also given out each morning to all breakfast students. It was a fabulous week. We appreciate you celebrating that week and inviting all of us, and for what you're doing as the school nutrition manager. Congratulations. And you can walk over. I shared with you yesterday you had some more goodies coming your way, so a certificate, gift card, and a keychain. Thank you so much.
Brian, I'll say hi. Attendance Day was the day I served, but only because they thought Muddy was going to be there.
You'll take credit for it, though, right? Absolutely. Our certified employee for the month is Ms. Brooke Shives. Ms. Shives, if you'll please come forward at this time. You can join me to my right. Ms. Shives serves as a first grade teacher at Corinth Holders Elementary. She was nominated as Employee of the Month by her assistant principal, Ms. Faitha Batten. Ms. Batten shares that Ms. Shives is a fantastic first grade teacher. She gives her students a voice and choice. There is never a dull moment in her classroom. Whether they're researching information on penguins or learning word patterns, she consistently shows her students how important it is to be a curious learner. She encourages students to be part of the research process and realizes the value in sharing innovative ideas on a level that they can understand. Ms. Shives encourages conversations between her students as they learn new information and skills. She makes coming to school fun each day. Her students know she is their biggest cheerleader, and she pushes her students to be creative on a daily basis. And Corinth Holder Elementary is lucky to have this Pennsylvania native as she leads her classroom from good to great. We thank you for what you do, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I've already seen some pictures on social media of your surprise as we walked in with the balloons. Your mouth is open. It's a great picture. You'll appreciate it. Also, some goodies for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's always a good time. Budget work session is coming up Monday, April the 30th at 5:30. Make sure your board members put that on your calendar. And then the May board meeting is Tuesday, May the 8th at 2 p.m.
And Mr. Wooten,
Dr. Renfro.
we may need to adjust that meeting based on that being a primary day, but we can discuss that in closed session.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd ask that we enter into an executive session for the purpose of consulting with our board attorney and to discuss personnel items per NC General Statute 115C-319 and 143.318.11, subsections A1 and A3.
Entertain a motion. Motion by Dr. Smith, second by Todd Sutton. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.